Hello and welcome to a very special Rock Sound podcast. Joined as always, Mr. Jack Rogers. How are you doing, my friends?
I'm alright, Will. Yeah, not bad.
Feeling festive still?
Constantly. I feel festive in July sometimes. So it's just by chance that other people don't really respond to it.
Lovely stuff.
Yeah, I'm trying my best.
Lovely stuff. I'm Will Cross, junior editor at the magazine, and we are joined by a very, very special co-host today, Mr. Reynolds of Shikari fame. How's it going, man?
Hello. Very well. Yeah, good.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the abyss.
Yeah. I'm up for some of your festivity-ness. I'm not feeling festive enough.
I mean, I'd try. I had my house Christmas do last night where we did a Christmas quiz and they made us wear Santa hats and we drank lots of Patron. So I was feeling suitably up for it. I feel as I'm coming down a little bit, like the festivity is dying.
You look delicate this morning.
Thanks, man.
No, as in what you said.
Christmas is over already.
Yeah, I was going to say, cheers, mate. No, it's all right. It's over soon anyway.
Exactly. Yeah, last week. Well, same format as all our Christmas specials. We're going to be chatting to Rao all about his year, the spark, the amazing year that Shikari have had, and then we're going to go into his own favourite album and favourite songs, favourite show, all sorts of stuff. So I'll go first on this one then. So Rao, with the spark, nothing like you've done before. I mean, like with every Shikari album, always different, always new stuff going on. How did the roots of what's a very unusual, very eclectic album come together? Tell me how it kind of started to blossom at the very beginning.
Well, it would have been kind of early 2016, just coming out of a year for me. 2015 was just like hell, just like my worst year of existence so far, I think. And then everything that was happening on a global scale, Trump and Brexit, and this is going towards the end of 2016 as well now. So it was a very weird, tumultuous period. But strangely enough, a lot of the stuff I was writing was very positive. Like Live Outside was one of the first bits of music to come out of that period. And even without the lyrics, it's just it's kind of this upbeat, very sort of excitable song, and I was very confused because I was like, what's going on? I'm not in a good place. So I think it was my body just willing me out of it. It's no, we can do this. So yeah, just finished off writing towards the end of 2016 and then started recording it early 2017. But it was weird. It was probably the first album that I've had a very clear focused mindset of what I wanted it to sound like, which doesn't normally happen. Normally it's just cobble something together and serendipitously it all sort of works. So that was definitely different. And then working with David Costin, co-produced it with him, so that was a sort of a different step for us as well. So it was a new experience, I think.
Amazing. Yeah, because was that something that you really wanted to do with this album then, that you wanted it to be a bit more kind of linear? Because the Minesweep before it was this big kind of sonic expansive journey, whereas the Spark feels like it's I'd say it's just as eclectic and there's so much going on, but it feels very, like you say, that you kind of had a bit more of a sort of linear vision with it. Is that kind of something that you wanted to do? Yeah,
there were lots of little kind of ideas and lots of things that had influenced this direction. I think wanting it to be more minimal, more direct, just more lucid, just the melody taking the focus, the structures slightly simpler and not doing the Shikari thing and just going off in 20 different directions. And yeah, there are loads of things that kind of brought that around. I think for a while I'd been quite frustrated being ghettoized as a noisy band, in inverted commas, because I think if you listen to most of our albums, they're, as you say, they're eclectic. They've got all sorts of emotions that are covered, and textures, and so I think I wanted to really focus on proving ourselves, and I think as well, being quite a sort of introverted person, I'm good at kind of not correctly estimating us. I always sort of sit back. Oh yeah, we can do this, I guess. Hopefully, so I wanted to go sort of actually being much more bold and confident, and trying to write music that sort of stands up to the long lineage of like big like British, you know, Britpop and post-punk and all these like amazing eras that have like influenced us along the way. Trying to join that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just before I move on to Jack, I mean, like, I noticed there's a slight Blur influence. Am I right in saying that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I was one of them weird people that sort of loved Oasis and Blur and couldn't pick a side.
I'm saying, what was it the other day when we spoke to James from Death Havana? We talked about Oasis and Blur, and who was it? He said like,
he likes them both, but he prefers the Smiths.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. He was like, you know, if someone asked me that question, like Oasis or Blur, I say Smiths. I'm just like, you can't do this.
It's not a different era.
You can't say that.
I prefer Mozart.
Yeah.
Go for it, man. I'm sorry. I had like 3 questions in one.
It just hit me. I was just like, yeah, because it's a weird sort of person, but you can like both. Music's amazing.
Yeah. I think Oasis was the first like band that made me like want to be in a band. And I think, you know, I learned guitar just with their chord books. Blur, I think there's a lot more musicality to it. There's a lot more interesting sort of textures and stuff. And I think guitar, especially for this album, like both the guitar tones and like the type of licks and stuff was heavily inspired by Graham Coxon.
Amazing.
I mean, with everything that's gone on with the Spark, because it's only been 3 months or so, and it feels like it's been with us for like ever and ever. But it's easy to forget that you started the year, or like started the summer, like celebrating the whole band, like at Slam Dunk.
Yeah.
Which I think, because instantly after that you had the album campaign there, but there was that time. And I could tell, like from watching it, there was like a lot of reflection in the performance, and kind of, it was a celebration, but also like revisiting those kind of feelings, like where you were when you were writing that. So if you were to go back 10 years, did you ever imagine that, for one, you'd be playing the album to that many people over that span and it means so much, but also, did you imagine to be in the position musically that you guys are now, or like have gone on the journey that you have?
No, like absolutely not. Like, I guess it's going back to that sort of thing of underestimating myself all the time. Like, I think we were just happy with it being a hobby, and like it was, because it you know, it generally was like all 4 of us for about 2 years. This is going back to when we were like 16, 17. We'd all have the same after school job, which was going from our school to the sort of very posh public boys' school and cleaning it for an hour. And then we'd go to Rob's and band practice. And so it was just, that was like the fun thing, that, you know, get through school, get through the cleaning job, and then we'll practice. And then, you know, started playing gigs. That was just an extension of that, and there was just further extensions, and it just got bigger than we ever could have imagined, really.
How was it, like, because obviously you talked about it a lot, like the relearning of that, but revisiting that time and that era of the band, because it's like the distance traveled is astronomical in many ways, and like the stops you've had along the way. Like, for you, putting yourself back into those shoes, like, how was it for you, like mentally? How was it for the other guys? How was it for like the way you communicated, like going back through these songs, which still means something huge to you, but like it meant something different then as they do now?
That was my like one fear. And like for a while, when the sort of pressure was building to do the whole 10-year celebration of the Taste of Sky's first album, that I was like, I don't want to just do it just because there's public pressure to do it. Of course, like, I want to do it because it means something to us, and we can still relay what we were trying to convey in that, back in that era. And so there was definite hesitation, but we just got into the studio and just started playing through them, and we've played like maybe 3 tracks fairly consistently from it, like all through our career. But like stuff like the big turning point for me was playing Today Won't Go Down in History,
of course,
a track we'd never played. Like, we didn't even play it together in a practice room before recording it. Like, we just sort of put it together in the studio. So playing that was like, it felt completely fresh. It felt like a new song, and we could put just the same amount of emotion that we put into it when we were recording it, and for me, it was like, well, I'll do anything just to play that song live. Like, and let's be honest, like, we'll never get a chance to play. Like, you know, it's kind of this forgotten little relic. Like, I think now, which is weird because I think it's probably one of the only songs from the album that could probably not feel too out of place on any other.
Absolutely,
album.
very true.
Like, sort of stood a weird test of time, even though we've never played it. So yeah, and then the other tracks, we, you know, some of them we gave a bit of a facelift and jiggled them about a bit, and it started to feel very real and genuine, and then we just really look forward to it.
Sure.
Amazing. Yeah, how was it kind of reworking songs like Johnny Sniper and Energizer and stuff? Like, how was it returning to those songs? You know, because like, you know, they're very like, when I think of Take to the Skies, you know, I particularly think about those songs as being almost like they make me think of the album as a whole. You know, like, how was it going back to those?
It was weird. I mean, Johnny Sniper, Rob, our drummer's famous last words was like, "We will never play this song again."
Really?
This was like 2008 or something, and because it's a weird track. It's like, it's the most like overtly pop like we've ever been.
Yeah.
Which always makes me laugh when people like confuse that with like stuff on the Spark. It's like, have you heard? But yeah, no, I think that there was something different about Johnny Sniper live to the recorded version. There's like an energy that we didn't get across on the recorded version. So it's actually really enjoyable to play live. And Energizer is just, it's just a raucous, I mean, it's mad, like, so.
I have vivid memories of years ago, I think it was in Hull, like, on the Flash Flood tour.
Bar 52, is that Hull?
No, like,
about
5, and there was a point where it was when like lasers went from like the scene and then down, and somehow I'd found myself on top of everyone surfing over, and there was just like this state of euphoria where I was just like, rather than like laid down, I was sat on the crowd going like that, and then everyone just went, I just saw you having the best time ever. But it is like that, the raucous nature of it, that it's something which is like over the years has just stuck, like that aggression of it, that like the passion and the rawness, like it just doesn't fade, which is quite hard with music which from a very different time. When you think of the amount of music from 2007 which now sounds so dated and like you can pinpoint it, but like for it to have that span is quite an incredible thing.
I don't know how it has, because Energizer especially is like a very sort of not immature but very youthful song, you know. It's like it takes its title from like Laser Quest or Quasar, you know. It's basically my Catcher in the Rye. It's like me being a really sort of bitchy and like, you know, the opening lyrics, you look like you've I can't even remember what it was, but like so it's just, it's weird that it's had that longevity to it, but it's still, I think because musically it's so like collaborative with all these things going on, it sort of gives it this extra sort of lifespan. Weird.
Sure thing, man.
Amazing. So yeah, going back to the Spark then, so I remember reading something, I think it might have been around the Flash Flood era. I remember you saying that you found it quite hard to write lyrics from a very personal perspective, you know, and you kind of preferred almost taking a sort of third party perspective on things and talking about the, you know, the wider issues in the wider world. And the Spark feels very personal, you know, it seems, but for the first time really. How was that? Kind of, did it just feel right, or was it daunting taking that lyrical shift?
I think because of everything that like happened in 2015 and early 2016, like I'd already sort of crossed the barrier of speaking about these things publicly just on Twitter, you know, just discussing mental health or loss or whatever it was, and connecting with people, which kind of just made the fear just evaporate. And at the same time, I was being a geek and reading a lot of philosophers that had emboldened this desire that I then had to be very open and be very personal and not be fearful about it at all. So like Rousseau and Schopenhauer speak a lot about this, and that was kind of just the last thing that's just like, okay, I think now that I felt I had something to write about, because before, you know, my life has been fairly comfortable, like, so I don't want to sort of force or do the classic like pop songwriting of just like, you know, literally writing fiction. So I wanted it to be real, and it felt like it couldn't have really happened until after 2015. Like, I couldn't have written something with this like emotional weight to it without like having lived it. So yeah,
amazing. So yeah, in that sense, and then kind of, you know, now you're touring the Spark and everything. When you did Airfield at Ali Pali, like, was that a particularly therapeutic moment as well? I mean, or cathartic moment?
Yeah, I always want. I think writing is very therapeutic. Playing it is a whole different thing, because you're getting back into the same mindset, and it like, it's like this year I feel really good, and it's like opening the door to that sort of cellar again, and it's like, so it's a bit weird. You have to sort of. I was watching a documentary last night about was it Roy Orbison? I think no, I can't remember who it was now, but he was saying you can't give like absolutely everything live, because you'll just cry probably, and you can't really sing when you're crying. You're just a blubbering mess. And no one wants to pay to see that, so you have to sort of go to, you know, to the edge and sort of
dangle over.
Exactly.
Like put your toes across.
Well, you sort of, you really want to push it. So I'd say maybe you're literally hanging on that edge by like one hand. Because you want it to be like visceral and real and like passionate, but like at the same time you don't want to just lose it and
completely end yourself. And then, well, on to tomorrow.
Amazing, Jack.
Something that I like asking people, because every year and every album is like, I would say, it's a snapshot of a time, of like an emotion, of a period of your life. And as I say, we've already reflected on 10 years ago. Let's say that we have a conversation 10 years from now, and we're reflecting on like this time then. As a whole, what is it that when someone brings up 2017, what is it that you're going to tell them that year defined for you and also the band, like as a as a kind of moment, you know, where it's like 2017 was this for me and the Shikari?
I think it will always just be that year that, like, just the Spark coming out, I think, like, as we just talked about, is like a big step for me personally, just like as in giving so much of myself. So I think that'll be what, you know, when everything's diminished into very far off memories. I think that'll literally be what it was, because you know, other than that, it's just been pretty hectic touring schedule, trying to, you know, dodge each sort of global catastrophe or weird shock after another, just and staying sane.
Kind of staying in the bubble, but like kind of like dodging and just I'm glad I'll stay away from that. Let's just stay on the bus.
Exactly. Every now and then you sort of poke your head out the fire exit.
It's interesting to think that it is quite a nice symbol that it's the Spark, that, as you've said, like when it's diminished into memory in that black, there is actually just this like spark in the dark of like that, because there's always, you can't remember everything and everywhere you go and every experience and every like that. It's nice to have something so symbolic of that time that fits perfectly like within the span of,
I mean, if I didn't have all the albums that we'd released, I wouldn't know what happened the last few years. You need those sort of bedrock, like you know, signposts in your life.
I can't remember last week. It's just when it all blurs into one, that when, and it's like you've got a point that you can revisit and know that, like, I think it's one of the most beautiful things about being an artist is that you're able to put this into a product, which it's like that you can put a certain thing on the shelf and then revisit whenever you wish, rather than it be like something in the back of your head where you're like, I kind of remember that. It's like, this is a whole block of how I felt at that time and like what was going on with me.
Well, I think for me as well, like, I guess more of a personal scale, it feels like this year will probably be not like a turning point, that's a bit too dramatic, but like it feels like a fresh start for the band. It feels like we've got more confidence. It feels like we're bolder. So I think it may be more of a sort of a pinnacle year than we're thinking.
You probably realise now. Yeah.
But
I feel that, and also I think it's quite amazing how you feel as though this is the point in a career of such like boundary pushing that this is the point that you're most confident as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think with every album we build up a bit more confidence in terms of like songwriting and as performers and things. But there's something I feel like this album has been sort of, at least musically, has been in us for a while and sort of wanting to get out, and it feels like we've sort of shed a few layers and we're a bit more raw and genuine perhaps now. I don't know, but I think we're reacting to that in a really sort of one with a bit of relief, like we've got this new sound, we've got this like new freshness, and two with just like excitement, I think.
Yeah. Sick.
Yeah, like was that something, looking back, especially when you do look back on the Spark, did you want it to kind of be a real beacon of positivity and hope, especially within what's a very dark time? Because songs like The Sights and like you say, it's just so there's so sort of, they make you feel so life affirmed,
No, the only aim I think was just to be realistic. Like I don't like positive music for the sake of positive music. Like I'd much rather just like tell it how it is, and if that means it's going to be a purely negative like fucking doom metal album, then that's what it will be. Like but yeah, as I said, weirdly a lot of the music was coming out quite positively before I wrote the lyrics, so then it was a case of working out, well, how what am I going to do lyrically with this? But then I was inspired by much of like I guess kind of late 70s, early 80s synth pop, post punk, where they are quite upbeat, excitable tunes, but the lyrical content is very real, very dark, very open, and so that's what we tried to sort of follow doing.
Amazing stuff. Cool. Well, we'll chat to Raoul a bit more about what's going on with the band next year in a bit, but we're going to throw out to Raoul now about his favourite things from 2017. So he's got his notes. Favourite album of 2017 then, Raoul?
Well, I don't need them for that. Okay. That was I mean, it was very difficult, obviously, but I think public service broadcasting.
I feel that.
I mean, I love this band. Like, I think they are so interesting. They sort of, for people that don't know them, I struggle to sort of compare them to something, but I guess Radiohead is the sort of lazy, easy comparison. And the album, is it Every Valley? I should bloody know it. Listen to it enough. Every Valley. It's like this. It's in this era of like releasing singles and very sort of quick, hits and short attention spans and stuff like that. Like having an album that is just like one big journey. It's one story. It's so like immersive. You just get locked into it, and it's so emotive. It's like, it's beautiful. I think it's absolutely amazing. I loved it.
Yeah, I feel as though like when I was first told about public service broadcasting, like I think it was like on listening to Radio 6 at one point, and then to like the definition of the band, where it's like, well, it's this really expansive sound but using old school like recordings, and I was like, how can that really work? But the way, like, just the way that they mold it, and the way that they like release this thing which feels very nostalgic for an era which you didn't even live in some cases, but also so like vivid and modern. It's like there's not many bands who can like put those things together and take that sort of like jump and it pay off in such a way that it has.
I think like, I mean, post rock as a genre is just like such, you can get so much emotion across in it. So then to put that as like a bedding for like these amazing stories of like of humanity. So the album all about space, going into space, and you listen to those archive like radio broadcasts on themselves are quite like emotional, because like you know, especially in this day and age where it's just bad news after bad news. And, humanity can be good. We can actually, like, you know, when we put our mind to it. So I think then having that, like, those kinds of things with the bedding of just like beautiful music, just like really, just you can just get lost in it.
I would say, and the positivity of it all as well, because with post rock as well, it can be pretty devastating.
Yeah,
at the best of times.
There's enough like other, you know, this gets funky. There's like it's obviously quite like pop driven as well. So it's a really good listen.
Do you think that's important as well? Because, you know, like you say, I mean, there is so much of that now. That music it's become so instant, and people do just expect music all the time like that, and they just want hits and that. Do you think it is important that there are bands out there still doing that? I mean, like yourselves as well, like still doing that, and that there's a lot more to it, or more layers, and it reveals, you know, on multiple listens, more's revealed. Do you think that's important that music does still live on?
I think so, but I think it's a losing battle. Like, I think it's, you know, with everything's about the playlist. It's about, you know, one song from this band, and just gets chucked into this, you know, washing machine, and everything just gets forgotten. If it came from a wider, you know, broader, like, artistic release, then it just gets sort of forgotten. But, you know, that I think that's where you divide, you know, your sort of real music listeners to your sort of, you know, people who just listen to playlists or just switch the radio on and aren't really, just have it there for company or whatever.
Background noise.
Exactly.
Oh, my jam.
100%. So let's move into the songs then. What's number one?
Yes.
Does have to be in any order.
Do they not? Okay, good. I don't know.
We don't need that much pressure.
No.
Well, Everything, Night of the Long Knives.
Cool.
I mean, that was a close contender for album as well.
Nice.
I think as like contemporary bands, you know, bands that we share stages with, there's not many that so consistently I find like interesting and inspiring, and I think everything just, they always are. The geezer's voice is just like, you know, it's him straight away. It's like incredible voice. The musicality, the rhythms, like, whilst all these sort of weird technical things going on, but within brilliant pop songs. And I don't think there's many people out there who are doing it as well as they are.
It's having that crossover as well, where it's radio friendly as well, like, and they've hit a chord with, like, we've always said, like, with kind of general music listeners as well, that it's like they can sit on that side, but also they are a band who, like, are happy to completely throw the rule book which they've written out and do something completely different again, and still, like, be excited by the music they're making.
Man.
I'm saying, I personally, I haven't checked out the latest one, but I remember seeing them last year at the Roundhouse, and just the show was just, you know, when a band is on where you, at most things, you feel like you could move, you could go to a bar, you could go to the loo, just transfixed by them.
Oh, awesome.
Like completely, where you just feel as though you can't move away because you're going to miss something that you're going to be talking about for weeks and weeks on end. I feel as though that's a pretty rare skill to have as well as a band.
Yeah. I mean, was it Reading this year? I think it was. They played the Radio 110. That was brilliant as well. Like, I don't, especially sound wise, I don't think there was a better sounding band. Like, there was some weird, I don't know whether just people weren't bringing their own sound guys this year, but there was a lot of dodgy sound going on, and they just nailed it, like, so pristine. And with that kind of music, you can really relish in that, because, you know, there's all the synths. It's quite thick texturally, well, sometimes at least, and you can really appreciate it live.
Amazing. As well, because, you know, you're talking about his voice. I mean, do you think it is important that bands do look for that unique sound as well, you know, especially as they grow their sound, hone it? Do you think that's important? Because especially like we're talking about with music being so instant and the age of the playlist and stuff, do you think it is a really important thing that we do retain these very unique bands as well?
Yeah, it's very easy just to get lost in, I don't know, just, you know how like a big song will come out, Radio 1 will just, you know, play it endlessly, and then you'll get like 5 or 6 tracks that sound exactly like it, and you can get lost in that sort of, you know, the homogenized cookie cutter sort of sound. So yeah, I think for bands especially, if you have the patience and the dedication and want to put the effort in, then I think it's all about just listening and absorbing as much music as possible, especially that it isn't on mainstream radio, and sort of honing your own, more idiosyncratic, interesting sound.
100%, I couldn't agree more. And I mean, so second choice,
yes. These remaining two, I found it so hard to pick, so I just went for more like songs that have just stayed with me. Cool. And I don't particularly know why.
Okay.
So coming back to Oasis, I've gone for Liam Gallagher and Chinatown.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't dreading a solo album by Liam Gallagher, but I wasn't like thinking it was going to be anything that interesting. And he obviously hasn't written this album himself.
Yeah.
But it is really good, and like whoever did write it was probably a production line of about 10 writers or something, but I think they nailed exactly what he could turn into as a solo artist. And I think that song for me, I can remember, I don't know when it came out, it was quite earlier on in the year, and I think I was jet lagged somewhere, and it has this such dreamy quality to it, and I can remember just getting lost. I was literally I think I was at an airport or a bus station or something, and just hitting repeat constantly and just getting lost in this daze. And it's such a weirdly non-Oasis sounding track, but like kind of is at the same time. I loved it.
Yeah,
really.
I feel as though that's because I think you're not the only person who was like, when like As You Were was announced, was like, oh good,
yeah,
I can't wait to hear this once and fucking hate it.
Yeah.
And then but still go and see him because he plays Rock and Roll Star.
Yeah.
But like the actual song, like the characteristics that you say, if he hasn't written it, he's just like, I'll sing it, like, and band. But they've got the characteristic down to a T in the way like that, in the same way that Noel on the other side, like what he's making with High Flying Birds is his characteristics. And it's nice that rather than him peddling to like completely like 20-year-old sounds and like just setting flares off for the sake of it, like he's got this sound that's unique to him, but also just relatable and can be.
Yeah. I was scared about, especially once other people got involved, I was scared about them trying to sort of modernise him.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't need to be modernised. Like that sound is now, there'll be a new indie band coming out tomorrow who'll sound pretty much exactly like that anyway. So it's like there's no need to.
Yeah.
I think they nailed it.
What's your go-to Oasis album or jam? Just
here. God. I usually find myself sort of voraciously sticking up for Be Here Now.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I don't know whether it's my favourite, but it's certainly the first one I remember buying on CD and just like when it came out and just listening to it back to front and learning every track on guitar, and because it was a bit more, a lot more imaginative than
so
the first,
much going on.
The first two. I think that one has stayed with me, and I think the fact that it is such a hated album although it was Matt, perhaps this is me 10 years ago sort of saying this now, like the last the most recent 3 albums was pretty crappy as well, I think. So now the whole everyone hates Be Here Now isn't such a big thing because it's not rock bottom anymore.
When it's like just dangle don't believe the truth there, and everyone's like, I crave those days now. Go back to trying to be the Beatles, please.
Awesome. And song number 3,
I went for Future Islands, A Time on Her Side, just because that album for me was like my festival summer sound of this year. I don't really know why. Like I don't think they're like a massively amazing band or anything. I just think they have some great, well-written tunes. They're interesting live, and it just sort of became something that I found myself listening to a lot. It's the kind of music that you can listen to in lots of situations, and it's sort of it works well with some cider in a festival with your mates. It works well sort of getting up in the morning and sort of slowly getting into that. It's not too rocky, not too dancey. It's just like, yeah, it works. It's a very, I don't know, distinctive sound. It's
a fun listen.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. Cool. So in terms of shows then, let's go shows you played first. What's I know it's probably quite a hard question, but number one of 2017.
Oh man. I think, I don't know whether it's just because it's still in my mind more than stuff we did at the earlier stage of this year, but our Victoria Warehouse show in Manchester on this last tour, so November. I mean, there was a vibe in that room. Like, Manchester is always amazing.
Yeah.
Like I don't think we've ever had a bad Manchester show. And it was one of the first places outside of sort of the 3 counties and London that kind of took us in. Like, you know, we played shows there and it seemed to connect and people got it. And I think there's for me there's something always like quite romantic about the city as well, because of just the amount of bands that have inspired us that have come from there. The whole thing about Tony Wilson and him sort of supporting us just before he died and stuff. So it's like every time we go, it's just, it feels like another sort of homecoming show in a strange way. And yeah, the Victoria Warehouse is such an intense venue, and the crowd was just so loud. It was so sweaty. It was just, even in those big sort of, I can't remember what cap it is, 3,000, 4,000, I don't know. You don't expect to have like such intensity, and like you put a Manchester crowd in like that in any venue of that size, and you'll think you're playing in a sweaty club. Like, it's I loved it. So cool. Yeah, I mean, how was the arena run as a whole? Because we saw you at Ali Pali, and I mean, like, you know, it was crazy, like so good, and just, you know, it felt like the set spanned, you know, the entire Shikari, you know, catalogue, and it just all fit together so well. Like, how was it kind of, obviously you had all the visuals, and like, how was it, especially doing it off the back of the run in 2016, how was it kind of putting everything together? Was it very exciting? Yeah, I mean, it was a very long process. We learned so much on the tour we did last year in terms of putting together a show that, you know, has a narrative, like you say, with all the visuals that connect with the lyrics and whatever else, the surround sound, which added another sort of at least a month into the sort of preparing for it. So it was, we learnt a lot from programming the set to the surround sound last time, so it was cut down a bit, but yeah, it was a long process. But it's just when it all comes together, and like, you know, you sit back at a sound check and you sort of see your stage and everything like is in sync, and the lighting and everything's, it's, yeah, it feels amazing. But we were sort of reminiscing and joking. Like, I remember when playing a gig was just like practicing some songs and then playing songs, and now it's like it's all about like linking MIDI with the lighting with this out, and it's just like it's such a different thing these days. I think the next tour we'll go back down to just, you know, playing music in a sweaty club again. Like,
it's
kind of missing it.
It's nice to have that way you can go between each. Like, it's because for a lot of bands, they kind of like stuck at a certain level, especially with like the style that they play. Like, they can only play a certain sort of venue or stuff. To be able to go from, like, you know, you could play Old Blue Last if you wanted, and then like go, oh yeah, and we'll do Ali Pali again or whatever. Like, go between them, and like the vibe and intensity and like the level of commitment that you put into that show it stays the same. Like, rather than, and it's nice to be able to play with it and like mold things around you, rather than like each like stepping up a ladder. It's like you can go, well, let's do this now, and let's do this, and let's try this sort of vibe. And like, as the years go by, it's a nice freedom to have.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like incredibly lucky, really, in that respect, just to have that independence of being able to pick exactly what you want to do, but out of a fairly wide spectrum of like possibilities. It's amazing.
Because you did obviously the Borderline as well earlier in the year, and that was sort of off the back of Slam Dunk, and then you were doing Ali Pali at the end of the year, and like, so yeah, it's like, it must be amazing to be able to kind of play around with so many different things, you know.
Yeah, I guess it's similar to the way like the music we make is just able to pick from all these different inspirations that have been around us since we were kids, and we have that big scope, and we're lucky enough as well to have built up a big enough following that we have a big scope of, you know, venues to showcase the music in.
So cool. And then shows that you saw as well as a fan. What was the best?
I was gonna go for, might be a bit of an oddball one.
Okay.
But do you know Mr. Jukes?
Oh, vaguely, yeah.
So it's the singer from Bombay Bicycle Club's new thing, and it's like a sort of jazz, soul, funk, rock, pop fusion thing. And normally that kind of thing would make me go, but oh my god! So I saw him at, I think it was Shepherd's Bush Empire, and it was so good. Like, I mean, obviously when it's a band of session musicians, the musicianship's going to be incredible, but it wasn't just in a sort of a kind of wanky way. It's just like, you know, everyone having their turn to show off a bit. Like, it was this very sort of collective, brilliantly honed like sound, and yeah, I think just like the melodies that he has, the songs are really, really good. He's only got the one album, but yeah, he played it pretty much back to front, and it was brilliant.
Awesome stuff.
I was going to say, I haven't checked it out yet because I was huge on Bombay's last album.
Oh, cool.
Like, I thought it was stunning.
Yeah.
And they've always been a kind of band who was on the like peripheral of, like, kind of dipping my toes every now and then. But I thought like that one was a surprise when they were like, yeah, we're gonna leave it be. But I'm quite curious now to see. I like those little projects that people do when it's like, it's almost like the true passion and what they actually want to make comes out more. That like, it's like, well, we're kind of put under this moniker, but now I can do whatever I want. And if it's like absolutely batshit, that hand, like, the more the merrier for it.
Yeah, no, it's really good. Definitely check it out.
Awesome.
Sick.
Cool. So to kind of finish up then, kind of going forward to 2018, Spark's been with us for a couple of months now. You know, you've got the arena run out the way. You've just come back from Europe, and like you're off to America. I mean, what's kind of the plan for 2018 then? Is it just going to be tour, and like you say, kind of doing even more stuff live and that sort of thing? Kind of, is there a plan, or are you just kind of seeing how things go?
Still kind of working out what it'll be. I think we're going to certainly hammer the festival circuit, which is my favourite thing in the world. So I'm really looking forward to that. Other than that, just taking the Spark elsewhere. So that the same set, probably to need to take that to, as you say, America, and then we've got Japan and Australia on the horizon. And I've just started working on some other bits and pieces, but I don't know when that will see the light of day, but so it's exciting.
Very exciting, man. Rao, thank you so much for joining us.
Cool.
Cheers,
Thanks for
bud.
having me.
Been a lot of fun. See you later, guys.
Love you, bye.